Hello, Charlie TCG here. Welcome back to Looking Ahead, the series where I break down and analyze the meta, what's happening over Japan, and how it'll impact Taiwan. We just had EYC, one of the biggest tournaments recorded in our history, where Tour Ratcliffe managed to dominate in a very, very impressive finals, showcasing how powerful Charizard Pidgeot EX really has been. But we're going to shift gears away from that. We're going to talk about that in a few days' time. We're going to look at Japan. They're having a Champions League this weekend, where we're going to see some of these brand new archetypes, like Greninja and Bloodloon Ursaluna, which are part of the Crimson Haze set, which will be in Twilight Masquerade in just a few months' time. So we're going to break down exactly what are some of the top archetypes going into the format right now for Japan, look at some of the brand new cards and exactly a tier list and what predictions we can see going into this really exciting tournament, as well as also some deck lists. So let's jump right into some of these brand new cards that got revealed. So we got a few new EXs, one of them being incredibly powerful, one of them not so much. Palafin EX has a ton of potential. It evolves from obviously Pheasantipity, but Palafin is a very, very good card. It has the ability 0 to hero, which once you return one of its Pokemon moves from the active spot to your bench, you may search your deck for Palafin EX and switch it with its Pokemon. And obviously, any damage counter, special conditions in play, anything like that remain the same on the brand new Pokemon. But Palafin EX, oh boy, is incredibly powerful. That Hero Spirit put this Pokemon into play with the effects of Palafin Heroes to 0 ability, but it has a really strong attack. Giga Impact, 250 damage for 1 water energy, and it can't attack next turn. This is incredibly powerful. Also, let's not overlook, has 340 HP. This is incredibly powerful. Obviously, this works very, very well here with Buddy by Profit getting, the previous evolution for Palafin. It is incredibly powerful. Yes, you need to play a lot of switching cards, potentially Jet Energy could work to move it into the active spot. Even likes of a Baxcalibur to constantly rain those of energy, so you can have that sort of energy attachment for the Jet Energy, move it in, attach the energies with the Baxcalibur, or potentially even the likes of the multiple switch cards. This actually card is a very, very strong one, and I think will have a ton of success. Dragapult EX, not so much. It is very, very weak. 200 damage and put 6 damage counter on your opponent's bench Pokemon any way you like. It's very, very mid. But the Dracloak is a really good first ability. Once you're turning, look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Put one in your hand, the other one at the bottom of your deck. Yes, that is a very much a return of the Pidgeotto, which you remember way back in the Sun and Moon era, which obviously introduced to a big, very powerful control archetype. I think this could be a very, very powerful thing. Similar to like how Curly was a very, very strong card right now. It's a really good draw effector. This Dragon Cloak could definitely be making a good stage. It's a really powerful stage 1 draw factor. Some other brand new cards got revealed. We saw a new Ace Spec, another energy, Legacy Energy, which pretty much it is a random colors and a rainbow energy attached to any one of your Pokemon, which they provide every single energy of only one at the same time. But once per turn, if this Pokemon is card attached is knocked out, or once per game from attack damage, your opponent takes 1 fewer prize card. I think this is a very, very strong energy. Potentially could be a really good inclusion into Lugia, making sure Testino's can in theory be only 0 prize Pokemon, or Lugia could be a single prize Pokemon, which is actually very, very strong. One thing I found interesting is once per game, kind of giving a fiction that there could be some superior, also special energy recovery cards, which could see some good success. I could make this card a little bit stronger. But right now, with Ace Specs Go, it is a very much a return of Life Juice. We remember that way back in the day. Super Garbodor was an incredibly powerful deck. I think that once per game thing is a very much a very, very good thing. Might keep track about when you use this or not, but I think for an Ace Spec card, this is a very, very nice one. Fable Flute is a really good card for control. You get to reveal the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck, and put any number of basic Pokemon you find there onto your opponent's bench, shuffle the rest of the cards back into their deck. This is incredibly strong. You think about how powerful some cards are, like Luminion or anything like that, which is instant place or card to search or effect. When you put them straight onto the bench, it's really, really strong. You can also bench like some Manaphy, so you can use counter catchers to bring MC active if you're playing stalled, or potentially even like that Lumion to stop them from using that Luminous Sign ability. Hazel is a pretty good supporter card, which you can only play if one of your Pokemon was knocked out during your last turn, very similar to the likes of Raihan. But you only look at the top 8 cards of your deck and put 3 of them on your hand, shuffle the other cards back in the deck. It's a little bit of a pseudo Raihan effect. You get to look at some top 8 cards, potentially choose some of the cards you might find there. I can't really see exact guarantee like this is going to be an incredibly strong card, but I think it's definitely worth noticing. From some decks which might struggle after a Pokemon has been knocked out, this could in fact be a very good support Pokemon. Driplin is a very, very nice sort of Pokemon. We've had a lot of Pokemon with Biz Festival lead ability, which pretty much means that Festival Ground is in play. This Pokemon may use its attack twice. Even if it's knocked out, you get to, when an opponent chooses a new one, you can still use that attack. Now, a very big thing a lot of people need to talk about, the TMs do not work on Driplin as it is an effect of an attack, and this is actually an effect on for Driplin itself. The Do the Wave is actually a very good ability, 20 times its attack, 20 times the amount of bench Pokemon you have in play. You could do like 100 damage for 1 grass energy for stage 1. That's not too bad, but again, I think that Festival Lead is a pretty interesting ability. Quite a lot of Pokemon do have this one, so they can attack twice. I really like this one. The shame Festival Grounds is a very, very weak stadium card, but honestly, I thought it was worth just kind of mentioning. And the last few cards I want to talk about, we have Chandelure, which has a really good ability where each player just draws a card whenever he uses this ability. Not too bad. Milotic means your opponent's turn, whenever your opponent's Pokemon in play, any cards attached to those Pokemon cannot be put into your opponent's hand. Not too bad at all, but Sunflora is a very, very nice card. Definitely a kind of like counter to Charizard. I feel like we're now entering that stage. We had a ton of Mew hate, now and that Sunflora hate. The Sunshine Return, 60 damage, times the amount of fire energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. Your opponent has at least 3 energies attached to their Charizards. You'll gain a 1-hit KO, which is very, very strong. I think Sunflora is a pretty nice inclusion for stage 1 if you want to have that guaranteed counter to Charizard. But in fact, they do have to have those 3 energies guarantee that 1-hit KO, or potentially even a Maxim Belt chuck in your deck to try and get that guaranteed 1-hit KO on a Charizard EX. And Thraki, I think, is a very, very fun one. The ability, Boom Boom Drum. Once your turn, if your active Pokemon has the first ability, you may search your deck for a card and put it into your hand. Shuffle your deck afterwards. I think this is very, very good. A Pidgeot on a stage 1, guaranteed. I think they're trying to really focus on this festival lead, this festival deck. I generally don't see if it's going to be that much prevalence in this archetype. We haven't seen a Pokemon that has an incredibly strong attack with that ability, which can attack twice. But I think it's very fun sort of archetype, which could potentially see some fun play in some rogue sort of archetypes. So those are some of the brand new cards. Some of the cards I missed, obviously, I didn't do a look ahead last week. But right now, let's talk about some of the very, very stuff we'll talk about. Let's look at the Champions League, exactly how the format has evolved in that Crimson Reign sort of set. We have seen a huge dip in Charizard. Charizard is now a 16% deck, with Lugia following up very, very slowly behind it, being 15.2%. Lugia has gained a huge buff. The Survivors kit, as well as also that Ursaluna, gives a huge package for how Archeops can really, really survive and kind of like become a very, very dominant archetype. Ursaluna obviously has an incredible ability, which its attack does cost is even less for many bench Pokemon the opponent has in play. And we're in a format where people play a ton of bench Pokemon, so definitely having a way around it is super, super good. And I really, really like, especially the Survivals kit, because you try that on Minchino, they try and 1-hit KO it. Well, they don't as well. It goes back at 1 HP, and they can attack again, and it becomes a huge, huge threat. Lost Box has definitely become much stronger as well. The Ursaluna kind of fits in very, very nicely. It's a colorless attack. It can actually attack for free. Charizard also a very, very good one, but Charizard obviously is a single price Pokemon, does 10 more HP, but has that requirement that it's only really strong when your opponent's taking multiple prize cards, whereas Ursaluna could be straight off the gates. Your opponent has 5 bench Pokemon on there, it can attack for free, do 240 damage. It is incredibly powerful. Another huge surprise right now going to the new metagame is Gardevoir. Gardevoir right now is 10.1%. It's a huge increase, and we've seen right now in our metagame that Gardevoir did in fact get day 2. People are really enjoying Gardevoir, but I think it becomes incredibly more stronger, especially with the sort of unfair stamp is a very, very good inclusion right now for Gardevoir. Right now, having that effect where whenever your opponent takes a knockout, pretty much shuffling the hand into 2 and you draw 5, you can still play some supporter cards. You can even you can use your own sort of draw factors. You can disrupt the opponent. I think this is so, so powerful. That unfair stamp really is kind of get that new lease of life that Gardevoir really needed. Lost on Giratina, we saw it got to the finals and unfortunately lost to Charizard and Pidgeot EX. It's now 8.4%. It's a very, very powerful archetype. People are still enjoying this one. If Charizard's doing really well, I think Tina is always going to have a very good place in the metagame. Shmow has definitely fallen a little bit from grace, but only 6.5%. It didn't really gain a ton of new stuff from the brand new set. Still very much the same sort of factor as well. It got top 32s at EYC, so it's definitely on people's radar. I think people, especially in Japan, are keeping an eye on our sort of format because we have a massive tournament with over 2,600 players. So definitely something to be keeping an eye out for. Turbo Hands as well has definitely seen a bit increase, but being 4.2%. Obviously, the release of the Iron Thorn EX is very, very powerful, making sure that if it's in the active spot, the only abilities in play are the ones of future types. It is very, very, very strong in that sort of capability, and obviously it's a really good recycle things for Iron Hands, and it's also going to sit in the thing wall a few times where you try and get that set up. Greninja is definitely a brand new archetype, which has actually seen quite a bit of success, but 3.7%, definitely a couple wins under its belt. I think definitely the best partner for Greninja right now is the Pidgeot EX. I think Pidgeot EX is a super, super powerful card. We've seen its success. Obviously, at 1 EOIC, it's the best partner to go now with Charizard. But having the Pidgeot in Greninja means that pretty much you can get 1 card from your Greninja attack, and then also get another card from Pidgeot. You can have 2-card combo piece, and pretty much hopefully instantly win the games that sort of way. Roy Moon has definitely become a much more favourable one to play right now in Japan than the likes of the Ancient Box. We obviously saw Ancient Box won the senior division and in fact actually did very, very well in the Masters division as well. But also, I think right now, for me personally, it's a little bit weaker and maybe not going to be as strong in a best of one format. And obviously, we have block lags as well. Some likes control, definitely focusing more on the Pidgeot build. Obviously, we saw it got top 4 and top 8 in for EUIT as well. So it's definitely on a lot of people's radars. It did very, very well in the Champions League in Japan last time, being at 2.7%. Definitely, they should be respecting that one. So looking at a meta game right now, it has changed definitely significantly with this brand new set. Lugia, Lostbot, and Goda has definitely increased line play, whereas the likes of Shmow and Charizard have definitely fallen a little bit from grace. The only brand new archetype is likes of Greninja, but let's actually look now at some of these brand new decks. Can I talk about my thoughts and feelings about where there could be plays going into the Champions League this weekend? So we see Charizard with that Pidgeot EX. This is a very much a kind of classic staple where we're seeing a lot of common stuff over in Japan. They are still playing the one Rotom and one Lumineon. There was a stage where people were opting to play the two Rotoms, but I believe that was definitely before the likes of Crimson Haze. We can see the likes of the Charmander definitely focusing more on the 1 plus 30 damage from City of Flames, because I feel like doing that for 1 energy is definitely a much stronger pick. We are seeing the rise of unfair stamps in Charizard. Pretty much like you can do some bossing, and also unfair stamp is really, really powerful. You can Arven to grab it, you can Churro and then unfair stamp. It is just that powerful in Charizard. Be that more destructive element, you can easily search it out. Like I mentioned, you can use Arven and you can also use Pidgeot EX, use that quick search ability, try and get out any of these really key pieces. The Erie and TM Devolution are definitely a must for now in Charizard. Obviously, Tor did not play that in his build, but right now in Japan, I would say right now, the TMD plus Erie is a very, very scary combo. If you're worried about Shmow, if you're worried about any sort of even the mirror match as well, removing 2 red candies is so powerful and forcing them to try and go with the Charmeleon route. Then obviously you can unverse stamp, you can either counter catcher, you can use one of your boss's orders, play with that Charmeleon to make sure that they're definitely not going to go any of that sort of route as possible. I do think Charizard is in a very, very dominant spot going into the format and definitely going to be on a lot of people's radars for testing and potentially could get that top 8 position. But the opposition is a very, very scary Lugia. You can see here, it's very, very similar to how people are playing it right now, but we're seeing some very good inclusion. That's survival cards and Blood and Earth Luna plus that Fluttermane. Fluttermane, I think, is a really good sort of Pokemon because you can just have it on the colorless attacker so it can attack, but also it can stop the likes of even opposing Lugias, it can stop Lost Zone decks, as well as also opposing Earth Lunas from attacking as well. Really, really helpful in a mirror match by making sure the Earth Lunas have to try and like boss around them or even prime catcher or counter catcher away the Fluttermane to try and focus to actually get them to attack with Blood and Earth Luna. Yes, obviously it has immense ability, but you play in multiple energies, you can slap them onto Earth Luna, and it's a very, very powerful Pokemon which deal huge amounts of damage. Like I mentioned before, survival cards is such good inclusion. You can chuck this on a Cinccino, and all of a sudden you can potentially get 2 attacks from this one. But we are seeing a lot of decks playing the likes of Lost Vacuum. We saw that in the likes of Charizard. We've got to see that in multiple other decks as well. Trying going around that survival card. I believe in the likes of Lugia list right now, it's the best way to play Lugia. And we've kind of seen it's had a huge success. I haven't been able to notice, really record the top 6 decks because I've been focusing a ton on my EUIC. And obviously this weekend it was EUIC, so I haven't really had a chance to do that one. But definitely, I do think that Lugia potentially is right next to Charizard to be one of the best decks right now in the format. Another one as well is this Lost Zone box as well. We're seeing, like I mentioned before, we're not seeing a ton of brand new cards, but the ones we are seeing a lot of are the likes of Unfair Stamp, the Survivor cards, and that Blood Luna Ursa Luna. These are so interchangeable in multiple archetypes. This works perfectly in Lost Zone decks because we've got to go into loads of formats where they may not be expecting this one. They're going to have their full bench, and also Blood Luna Ursa Luna can come in here and attack for free, or even like 1 or 2 energies. Now that's very, very powerful. 260 HP is very, very difficult to deal with, especially with fighting weakness. Not many decks right now are fighting types, so it's very, very difficult to get a big one-hit KO on an Earth Luna. Shmow needs likes of 5 energies to KO you, so it's a very, very powerful one. Even the likes of Roy Moon, Iron Hands, and the likes of Raikou, it is a very, very good inclusion into this deck. We're seeing the rest of this, it's a very, very staple where we're seeing the likes of Lost Box. I think Bundle is really, really good, especially to get that extra gusting effect. It's really powerhouse likes of that Iron Hands to really utilize that as best as possible. Forest Hill Stone, I feel like it's really good, especially if you're playing the likes of a Raikou, and that obviously the likes of the Lost Vacuum, because I can kind of go around the likes of the Survival Cast or any sort of very, very powerful tool cards, and also get your Artisan and Lost I'm drawing blank on, I just said it, the Forest of Silverstone, but chuck in Lost Zone, you can easily get to that 10 or 7 to use your Mirage Gates and Sableye. I think this deck will definitely do very well, potentially even get a top 8, and definitely see the like of a Blood Luna Earth Luna. I'll go back to Lugia. I do think that deck is very, very strong. I think it's definitely in the running to actually win the event again back-to-back Champions Leagues. Gardevoir as well. We've mentioned it quite a lot. We're seeing this one here, and we can see that it's only really playing one of the brand new cards, that Unfair Sam. We are noticing this is very much a common theme. Unfair Sam is one of the best destructive ace specs we've seen in a very long time. And it works perfectly in Gardevoir. You're always going to fall behind. You're going to be behind by 2 or 3 prizes. And it's also an unfair something your opponent's like 2 cards. It's very, very difficult for them to come around. Especially with likes of Fluttermane. Charizard in the active spot, it's very, very difficult. They might not be able to use any of their really key cards. It will help you, especially in the Lost Zone deck, as well as the likes of Shmow, stopping them getting their energies, stopping Lost Zone decks from using their comp phase or even Cramrats to do some damage to you is super, super nice. Plus, Fluttermane offers a very, very good attack, doing 90 damage and then 3 damage counters to your Pokemon, your opponent's Pokemon any way you like. That damage pump is also good because they move it around as one, potentially get attach more energies or deal a bit more damage with your likes of your Drifloon as well as also your Screamtails. I really am enjoying this Gardevoir deck. Not playing the Hero Escape definitely makes a bit of sense, but we're seeing the increase of Gardevoir. Definitely people are realizing how powerful it really has become. Yes, we've lost the likes of Shiny Arcana and based on that Mirage step earlier, but also seeing the double TM Evo. We're seeing also the Churro to help that buff up the Gardevoir X to try and have a lone, this single prize board state, which is very, very powerful. And I think the likes of the Unfair Sam can really put Gardevoir, especially in the driver's seat. Shmow as well, we are seeing it not really change too much, but we also seeing like that Minior. Minior is definitely to help you in that control matchup. Me personally, I would not be taking a Minior to go for control. You have such a bad matchup, there's no real point to kind of like go around this one. It could definitely be a bench space. I played against it in Mirror, and it was very much an easy win for me to kind of go around this one using Greninja and stuff like that. Try and get the guaranteed KO, and it can also become a bit of a hindrance because it does require 2 energies to retreat. You're not going to really utilize your prime catch to try and get guaranteed retreat up, or in fact, you're sacrificing 2 energies just to remove it. I think it's a decent inclusion. It's a good, like, they're respecting likes of stall play, and I thought I'd just definitely mention this as well as another way to play Shmow. Is this the best way to play this one? Probably not, but definitely it's kind of like up there as well. It's definitely a unique list of Shmow that actually did pretty well. Greninja, this is a brand new card, which I honestly think is very, very strong. And there is a ton of new cards in this one. We're seeing a 4-1-3 line of Greninja EX. For those who don't know, Greninja does for 1 energy 170 damage and search your deck for any card from your deck and pop it into your hand. This is like Pidgeot EX, so you can guarantee get 2 cards from this combo. And it has another attack for water and double colorless. You do 120 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. A lot of people are putting the likes of the Super Neo energy, or even likes of Double Turbo, just a guarantee to move 100 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon is very, very strong. The team likes of Pidgeot because it's a very good setup Pokemon. You can get any card you might potentially need, and also likes of Rotom as well. You can utilize it to draw 3 cards at the end of the turn. One thing is very similar. It's very similar to likes of the Charizard. If we look at the supporters, again, it's very similar. TM Devo, we're seeing Unfair Stam, we're seeing likes of Erie, we're seeing high counts of Arvin and Iono for that disrupt capability and searching any card you might want to have, and also having the likes of a Canceling Clone really help you likes of a Lost Zone matchup, and even likes of Shmow. You can in theory get these energies powered up and KO 2 Frigibaxes because you can utilize the Gussing effect as well. Only having counter catch as your Gust is potentially a little bit. Sorry, there was also 2 bosses orders as well. I completely missed that. But I do think having that 2-2 split is a very, very good inclusion. The Halucha is a very nice inclusion indeed. Kind of like getting that little bit of that pinging damage to do 1 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon can really utilize the effect. You can get to that 110 number with Greninja's first attack, or in fact 180 damage from Greninja's first attack. It is a very, very powerful deck, and I'm really excited to see where Greninja could be placed going into Champions League. I think it's had a lot of talking points right now. A lot of people are thinking about it. I think it's a very, very good deck. If people are polishing it, if it's winning, and this is definitely a build which is very, very common for Greninja. They are playing the TM Devo because it works very, very well with his first attack. Within the Unfair Stamp, the disrupt capability. It's a very, very similar build how Charizard has kind of been doing well, and we're seeing Charizard is doing a very, very dominant deck. I think Greninja could be a very good inclusion right now. We are seeing it's also making the bracket, so Greninja is definitely up there as a top pick for me right now going into the Champions League. And also want to talk about a little bit like Pidgeot Control. Yes, Control, everyone's favorite topic right now, but I think Control has been the best it's ever been. And we can see here, this is not just a Control which can get any card and really chop your opponent, it can attack Chi-Yu, Luxray, Marwile, and also the likes of Ursaluna are very, very good attacking options. Chi for that mill effect Ursaluna, because it can be very difficult. You can mill the from resources, and they're attacking for 240 damage, turn after turn after turn. Luxray to do 180 damage, turn after turn after turn, and Mimikyu to stop your opponent from attacking into it, or even more wild to stop your opponent from retreating. In fact, I think this is a very, very scary deck right now. I think Pitch Up Control is definitely showing its dominance as well. We can see here that nearly every single one of these cards makes a lot of sense. Hero Escape over Unfair Stamp, I think, is a much, much better pick. I think Unfair Stamp is better in these evolving decks to try and be disruptive that way. You could offer a ton of disruption, but putting yourself up to 5 cards could be very much detrimental to your control strategy. And Hero Escape, giving your Pokemon Pitch Ursaluna 360 HP, is very, very difficult for any of them to deal with. I like the TM Evo. I love the likes of the Eerie. I think these are really, really good inclusion. The Silene to constantly loop stuff back in, and also the Team Yes Chill, so you can constantly be in that flux, getting every single thing you might need to have. I think this is a very, very scary deck, and also noticing that they can win without milling out themselves. They're not playing the likes of Pidgeot V. They're just going with the, you know what, I'm going to play my Rotom to draw most of the cards through. I have a ton of really good attacking options. I have Pidgeot to get any card I might potentially need. This is a very, very formidable deck, and I think could do very, very well, and potentially the best way to play control. We're seeing this one raise a little bit more common than likes of the regular block clacks. And for me, I think this is definitely a lot more harder to play with, but I think it is a very, very scary and formidable archetype. Now, a little bit talking about this one, let's look at some of the top picks, what someone has been playing. We've used these people before, and I generally think it's a really, really good inclusion. If we look here, what they think is a tier 1 archetype, we're seeing likes of that Lugia, Charizard with Radiant Charizard, and Lost Box with Greninja, the likes of the Paradox Box. They are thinking of one of the tier 1 archetypes. Their tier 2 are like the Turbo Iron Hams, Greninja Pidgeot, Shimpow Excalibur, Ancient Box, Gardevoir, and Lost Tina. I kind of do agree with that. And the likes of that tier 3 archetypes are Great Tusk Mill, Snorlax Control, Sablezard, Roaring Moon with it, baby Moon as well, Dialga Matang, Golden Go, Arceus Vulpix, Arcatina, and like some Mirage on EX and Raging Bolt. I think this is a pretty good tier list as well. I do agree with some of their sort of options. I think definitely the card which is going to appear the most will be likes of Lugia, Losone, and Charizard. And people will be playing a ton of the likes of the Greninja deck, because I think it's a very, very powerful archetype. It's definitely a deck which I'm really excited to try out. I want to see how it does in Champions League. Kind of like go from there, because if you're going for NAIC or just looking at some brand new archetypes, I feel like Greninja offers a ton of really good stuff. It also really helps in like the Ursaluna if you are scared about it, because it's one of the only fighting decks right now which is very viable and get these big one-hit KOs. So kind of like wrapping up the likes of this, I'm looking ahead. Sorry, it's a bit more rambly. I'm recovered from a little bit of a cold. Will Greninja make a big splash going into the Champions League? I actually think it will. I think it's a very, very powerful deck right now. I think offering that guaranteed any card you might potentially need to get, and that big snipe is super, super powerful. Is Ursaluna a new staple for most decks? I think it is. I think it offers so much versatility. You could even put it in the likes of Shimpow as a very, very big, powerful attacking option, or even the likes of Control It Off. We've seen it work. We've seen it work in Lugia. We've seen it work in Lost Zone. Heck, we can even work in Charizard as well. It's a very, very powerful Pokemon with a ton of HP and that very, very relevant weakness. Yes, Greninja is obviously going to hit you for weakness, but if Greninja might not be played as much as we think it was, Ursaluna is a very, very powerful archetype. And will Zard's success continue? We saw it win EUIC. Could it in fact go back-to-back weekends of huge tournament wins? We have a ton of tournaments. There's actually 4 big tournaments happening this weekend across the entire world. We've got one in Australia, we've got 2 in Asia, and we've got 1 in America. So we're going to see some very, very exciting Pokemon action. And next week, I can't wait to talk about the results from the Champions League. I'm so excited for this new format. I know we've just had our own format as well, but Japan, I've just got to make it even stronger as well. We're seeing the brand new cards. Well, I love Ursaluna. I love Greninja EX. And I'm kind of excited to see that Charizard might actually be a bit deranged from the likes of Return of Lugia by how powerful that really is. So, hope you guys enjoy this looking ahead video. I'll be back in a few days' time by talking about my EUIC run, so as also some predictions on how the tournament actually went overall. Hope you guys enjoy this video. I will see you in a few days. Bye for now.